My dear sisters, I think most women, including myself, have been intimidated by Proverbs 31. You read about this woman who gets up early, takes care of her household, works with her hands, makes wise decisions, provides for her family, helps people in need, and carries herself with strength. And if you're already tired, that list can feel less like encouragement and more like another standard you're supposed to meet. You look at your own life, the unfinished laundry, the bills, the children, the job, the things that haven't worked out, the parts of yourself you're still trying to rebuild. Then you read Proverbs 31 and think, Lord, where do I even begin? But I think we've sometimes approached this passage from the wrong direction. The Proverbs 31 woman isn't there to make you feel like you're falling behind. She's a picture of godly character lived out in everyday life. And that's different from trying to copy somebody else's circumstances. Proverbs asks, who can find a virtuous woman? Her value isn't based on having a perfect house, a successful career, or an impressive life. One of the first things we're told is that her husband trusts her. Trust doesn't come from appearances. It's built through consistency, through keeping your word, through being honest when nobody is watching, through becoming someone people can depend on. That kind of character matters whether you're married or single. It follows you into your friendships, your work, your family, and every relationship God has placed around you. Then we see her working. She seeks wool and flax. She works willingly with her hands. She considers a field and buys it. She plants a vineyard. She makes garments and sells them. This woman isn't afraid of responsibility. She sees an opportunity, thinks it through, and does something with it. And I think there's something important for us here. Proverbs 31 isn't telling every woman that she needs to own a business, buy property, sew clothes, raise children, and somehow keep every part of life running perfectly. That's not what the passage is asking us to do. Look instead at what she does with what she has. She doesn't waste her abilities. She uses them. She doesn't sit around waiting for her circumstances to become perfect before she gets started. That raises a good question for us. What has God already placed in your hands? Your experience, your creativity, your ability to encourage someone, your knowledge, your willingness to serve. It doesn't have to look impressive to be useful. Sometimes we're so focused on what we wish we had that we overlook what God has already given us. The woman in Proverbs 31 understood the value of what was in her hands. She worked with it. She developed it. She made something from it. And while she's working, she's also giving. The passage says she reaches out her hand to the poor and stretches out her hands to the needy. That's easy to miss. She's building something for her household, but she hasn't become so focused on her own life that she no longer notices someone else's need. Her productivity hasn't replaced compassion. That's worth remembering. It is possible to be ambitious and generous, responsible and compassionate, strong and kind. Then Scripture says, strength and honor are her clothing. Notice what kind of strength we're talking about. Not loudness, not control, not having to prove that you're better than everyone else. Her strength shows up in how she carries responsibility and responds to difficult circumstances. And I think we've sometimes confused strength with never needing help. That's not strength. A woman can be strong and still say, I need help. She can rest. She can admit she was wrong. She can change direction. She can cry. She can say, I don't know. Those things don't diminish her. Sometimes strength is simply having the humility to recognize that you cannot carry everything alone. Then Proverbs gives us another beautiful detail. In her tongue is the law of kindness. Wisdom and kindness are sitting side by side. But there's something interesting about wisdom in this chapter that we shouldn't miss. Before we meet the virtuous woman in verse 10, we hear the voice of another woman. King Lemuel begins the chapter by remembering the instruction his mother gave him. She taught her son how to live with wisdom. She warned him about things that could cloud his judgment, told him to speak up for those who couldn't speak for themselves, and reminded him to judge fairly. Think about that for a moment. A woman's words helped shape the way a king understood his responsibility. Her wisdom mattered. And that gives us another way to think about the Proverbs 31 woman. Her influence wasn't limited to what she accomplished with her hands. Her words mattered too. In her tongue is the law of kindness. She knew that wisdom isn't just knowing what to say. It's knowing how to say it. You can correct someone without humiliating them. You can tell the truth without being harsh. You can disagree without trying to tear somebody down. And the people closest to us usually know whether our words carry that kind of wisdom. It's easy to speak kindly when everything is going well. The harder moments reveal much more. When you're frustrated, when someone disappoints you, when you've been misunderstood, when you're tired and patience is running thin. That's when our words tell us something about the woman we're becoming. The Proverbs 31 woman also thinks ahead. She isn't afraid of winter because her household has been prepared. She planned for what she could see coming. There's wisdom in that, especially for those of us who spend so much time worrying about tomorrow that we forget to live today. Preparation is wise. Anxiety is something different. We can make plans, work hard, save, and do our best to prepare, but there will always be things we cannot control. That's where faith comes in. You do what you can, and you leave the rest with God. Then we reach the verse that, to me, changes how the entire passage should be read. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. After everything we've read about her work, her strength, her generosity, her wisdom, and her household, Scripture brings us back to one thing, the Lord. That's the foundation. Without it, Proverbs 31 could easily become a list of achievements. Work harder, do more, keep everything together, but that's not what makes this woman worthy of praise. She fears the Lord. Her faith shapes the way she works, speaks, gives, plans, and responds to life. And that's where this passage becomes personal. Your life may not look like hers. It doesn't have to. Your responsibilities, family, career, and circumstances may be completely different. What matters is what God is developing in you. Are you becoming more trustworthy, more thoughtful with your words, more willing to use what you've been given, more generous, more dependent on God instead of trying to control every outcome? Those are the things worth taking home from this passage. Because becoming a godly woman isn't about creating an impressive version of yourself. It's about letting God shape your character in the middle of your actual life. At your kitchen table, at your desk, in your conversations, in the decisions nobody else sees. That's where faith becomes visible. So when you read Proverbs 31, don't turn it into a list of everything you're not. Look at the woman in the passage and ask God to develop that kind of character in you. Work with what He has placed in your hands. Speak with wisdom. Give when you can. Prepare without living in fear. And keep your heart turned toward Him. You may still be learning. You may have made mistakes. You may be rebuilding parts of your life that you thought would already be settled by now. That doesn't mean you're behind. God can still shape something beautiful out of where you are. The Proverbs 31 woman wasn't praised because she had a perfect life. She was praised because her life was rooted in God. And maybe that's the part we need to remember most. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to prove that you're enough. Keep walking with God and let Him form the woman He created you to be. Not perfect, faithful, not impressive, faithful. And that woman is worth becoming.